Hi, this is Steven Beschloss with America,
And I'm Mark Jacob with the Stop the Presses newsletter.
and this is on target. We've been away for a few weeks. Happy to be back in the saddle with the sort of onslaught of news. We've had a lot of options of stories. God knows there's between Emil Bove being put on the appeals court and just a host of other appalling decisions, including this effort right now at the EPA to basically eliminate restrictions on greenhouse gas emission limits, which is just shocking and awful. And there's obviously a lot of other stories, but we wanted to take this time. We talked sort of through the idea that to really stay focused for a moment on the Epstein case, and with a very specific angle. The last period has been one where the focus has been on Ghislaine Maxwell. The possibility Todd Blanche going down to Florida to interview her, quote unquote, with what it looks like, the possibility of her ending up getting a pardon, in essence, to keep silent about what exactly was Donald Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein and his specific involvement with the sex trafficking and child rape, the sexual abuse that was going on with Mr. Epstein. But part of what we've noticed. I mean, you had at Newsmax the anchor Greg Kelly talking about how well it just might be that Ghislaine Maxwell is a victim, which is an appalling sort of thing. And it just indicates sort of the willingness to ignore what the realities are in this whole case. A lot of it is dramatic and compelling in different ways for different audiences. But I think it's important to remember even the DOJ report that came out earlier this month noted that there were about 1,000 victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Another report that came out through ABC News of a lawyer who was responsible for looking at a number of these cases and representing over 200 victims. So, this is, as much as anything, this is a story about sexual abuse and child rape and victims that shouldn't get lost in the process. And as people look to blame Donald Trump, or for that matter, blame Bill Clinton or whoever else might be a part of this Epstein list, if it even does exist. And so, we particularly looked at an article written by the New York Times who focused on Marie Farmer. And it demonstrated, it sort of showed how she had the experience of being assaulted not only by Jeffrey Epstein, but also by Ghislaine Maxwell, and had an encounter during that same period that didn't result in assault, but it seemed like she was sort of on the threat of being assaulted by Donald Trump, which led her in both 1996 and again in 2006 to go to the FBI and ask them to investigate not only Epstein but also Donald Trump. And so, we think it's important to pay attention to all of that. Have I got it right, Mark?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that we both agree that this isn't just a political story. This is a story about basic human indecency and about and the thing with Farmer is that she recalls Epstein telling Trump, she's not for you. And then there's this other case with Virginia Jeffrey, who she Trump actually said that Jeffrey was working for Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and that Epstein stole her as if she's
Yeah,
property. And so
yeah,
there's this whole mentality of powerful men thinking they own women, or not even own women, own girls. I mean,
yeah.
it is a disgusting thing, and we should all be appalled by it. And I think it's important for us to understand how this might affect the Trump presidency, because he's doing so many terrible things all the time that you would just like him to be held accountable for one of them.
For something,
Yeah,
yeah.
something. So there is this impulse that we may have, in the pro democracy area, to hope that this sticks on him, all the horrible behavior of his. Um, but it is important for us to remember that this is really a story about young people being victimized,
Yeah.
and and that's instead of us this being this kind of just viewing it as a political advantage story, it's really a story about human beings doing terrible things to other human beings.
Yeah, and look, and I think that's right, and I think it's also this question of the cover up. It's always this. I mean, this is a case where the crimes are worse than the
Right,
cover up. That's for sure. But the need to cover up that seems to be so intense as Trump by day, kind of this kind of desperate desire to keep shifting the attention and sort of coming up with sort of new explanations. Oh, I got rid of Jeffrey Epstein in 2002.
right.
He wasn't welcome in the club anymore, but as it turns out, we learned that actually he continued to be a member until 2007. So I mean, he's looking for all kinds of ways to make this story go away and minimize his involvement, which tells us that behind all of his desperate attempts to cover up whatever it is must be pretty bad. And
Yeah,
I go ahead.
they are running pretty scared. Obviously, I haven't seen Pam Bondi out there in a long time, and which is interesting because she was on Fox News all the time before this.
Right.
But for inexplicable reasons, she said that she had the client list on her desk and she was just reviewing it, and we were all going to get it. And then it turned out that wasn't true, and and then and that there was no client list. They've suddenly announced.
Right.
Frankly, I don't think there is a client list. Not in a distinct way. There's
Yeah.
plenty of documents that can come out. And then
Well,
Trump,
look, and then there's this, the so-called review that there was no killing, that they showed the footage that was supposed to prove that it was in fact a suicide. Nobody else entered the cell, but as it turns out, there was somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes of
right?
footage that was missing. So
Yeah, there's a lot of funny stuff going on here, and and the conspiracy theorists on the right side, they might want it's. I think they're starting to. Some of them, at least, are starting to realize that the conspiracy, goes all the way to the guy who's in the White House right now.
right, and look, the thing is, this case is going to continue, and even if Trump decides to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, convinced that that somehow is going to silence the issue, I think it actually is going to escalate things. So we don't know exactly how this is going to go forward, but I think it's important that we do two things. One, we kind of that the media keeps paying attention to what's happening here. The denials, the cover up, and at the same time doesn't forget the human stories, the real stories, the
Right.
crimes that are behind
Right.
this.
And really get set to, if there is a pardon, to express the kind of outrage that it deserves.
Yeah.
I mean that would be just unthinkable by any other person. I mean, it's any other president, any other leader. I mean, this woman, she sexually abused children. I mean, it's like, I mean, without a doubt, there's not any
Yeah.
doubt about her guilt.
Yeah.
And a pardon would be just, it would be mind-blowingly awful. I mean, it would be, and we should act that way. It shouldn't be like, oh well, okay, so he grabbed private parts of women in 2016 and everyone seemed to accept it. He got elected anyway. But we need to not kind of cast this off. If it happens, it's outrageous and we need to be outraged by it.
Right. And look, Maxwell's sitting in jail on a 20-year sentence. Weirdly, not surprisingly, given the Trump bunch, the deputy attorney general goes to her to
Right.
find out what really happened, quote unquote, rather than the many victims that actually are available, that he could be going to find out actually what
Right.
happened.
Exactly. Well, yeah, there's a lot more to be said about this. And the only thing to me encouraging is that the news media seems to be sticking on the story into the fourth week, as it deserves. It deserved long ago and was kind of went down the river with a lot of the abuses of Trump.
Right,
But
right. This isn't a new story. I mean, that's
no,
the weird thing about it. This has been going on for many years, but suddenly, and I have to say, I didn't expect it. It's gotten traction the way that I didn't anticipate, and
well,
if it undermines Trump's agenda and maybe becomes a way to hold him accountable, that's a good thing.
yeah, yeah. If it keeps the traction, it deserves the traction.
Yeah.
See
Thank you,
you
Mark. We'll see you
yeah,
next time.
next time.